Good evening, everybody. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to tonight's tasting session. We're just gonna, we'll be kicking off shortly, and I'll be introducing each of the wines we have this evening. And I'm happy to say we have 3 guests this evening, and each of those will be telling you about how smart money can be applied to the wines that you have in the pack, and probably some other cute tips when buying wine on the website. So settle in, and I'm going to probably just start by introducing the tasting packs for anyone who hasn't joined before. But it's not it's not rocket science, but we're going to do sort of a Blue Peter trial to begin. It's simply so that you don't spill any red wine on the carpet. It's just about taking it nice and slowly. But I imagine you've probably opened most of these already anyway. But so let's just kick off. So we're going to talk through 6 different wines. We're going to start off with 2 whites, 1 rosé, and then we're on to the reds. Like I said, 3 guests from around the world. And importantly, the opening of the packet. So what I do simply is you hold it up here, you will see the perforated piece on the corner. You get a nice satisfying click, almost that, is it AMSR? I don't know what they call that when you go, no, didn't really work that time. Oh, that's a little bit, that's satisfying. Okay, and then it pops out, get your scissors safely, make sure there's an adult around while you're using the scissors, clip it, don't squeeze the bag like I just did too tightly or it will pop out the top. Then you have your glass and we pour. Okay, and then set it down somewhere where it doesn't spill over. Sorry if this sounds very patronizing, but when we get on to the reds, you'll thank me because you will otherwise have a bloodfest carpet all over your floor. Okay, so I think now that you're all in, just before we introduce my first guest, which is Connie from Chile, a dear friend, I have to admit, I'd like to share with you, you have the chat room down below, where you can all engage with one another, and hopefully you're drinking along. You might actually be saving this for another time, and you might have a bottle of another wine from Naked Wines. Any other wines that aren't from Naked Wines are forbidden, hereby forbidden for the rest of the tasting, so just keep it to yourself. But tell us which one your appreciation of the wine as you go along, or rather share with everyone else how you're appreciating the wines as we go along. Then if you have any questions, you have the Q&A down below, any questions, and I'll take them typically per wine. So as I'm discussing with Connie, we're having a chat, and if you've got a question for Connie, you can put it in at that point. And if you're sharp enough and fast enough and I see it in time, then I'll be able to ask Connie that question. Then I'll move on to the next wine. Okay, so let's get stuck in. It's Tuesday night. It's after 6 o'clock everywhere in the world, I guess. Let's get tasting, drinking. Connie, can you join us, please, for this Smart Money Tasting Pack event? I'm going to start drinking. There you are. Hello, Connie. ¿Cómo estás?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good. We have now a sunny day. It was quite cold this morning, but now it's getting warmer, so it's nice. It's
spring,
it's a cold spring.
Everything ahead of you, all the positives of spring ahead of you. We're having a pretty I'm going to say, well, apart from the storms and the deluge and the actually atrocities that are happening with the big storm we have at the moment, other than that, it was a clear sky today. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad actually, but other than that, it's a blue sky today. But anyway, we move on from the weather, the chit chat, and let's get stuck into wine. So you've been making, how long have you been making this Pedro Ximénez for Naked Wines?
We started in the harvest 2018.
Wow, good. And this is 22, so we're on our 4th vintage.
Yes, and I'm going to ship soon the 2023. It's ready.
Yeah, great. And
so
even
it's 5 years.
And when we started it 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, it was quite a left field, quite an unusual grape variety to go after. So I mean, I think at the time,
absolutely,
yeah, it was maybe brave is a strong word, but we were very innovative or adventurous, and it was all around actually smart money. We wanted to find grapes and regions that were off the beaten track, that delivered quality, impact, and just blew people away. Let's, in English, we would say the unsung hero, the wines that people don't talk about, but actually can really deliver great quality. And thank you for proposing this and introducing it to us. So, but where did you first come across it, or how did you get acquainted with it?
Okay, actually, the idea came from you, from Naked Wines. You, Eamon was on that time, was Eamon in charge of giving new ideas. So he asked me, why don't you look for new white grape varieties? And I was like, there's not many in Chile, actually. So I started, what can be really new is a grape variety that is normally not sell like wine.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking in Pedro Ximénez, because this variety is vinified and then is distilled to make pisco. That's our like national spirit.
Yeah.
That is all made by wine, also by wine from aromatic grapes like Muscat grape, different varieties of Muscat, and also Pedro Ximénez and other varieties. So then I started looking if there were some wines made already, and there was like one little project of independent winemakers. So I tried and I said, oh, it's nice wine, so we can do it.
Yeah.
And actually, because it's not sold to make wine, the grapes are a little cheaper.
Yeah.
And,
so there lies the opportunity. Yeah.
And it's not really like known. So it's not common in Chile also find it like wine still now, after 5 years.
Wow. Well, that's, so, I mean, that is also, it sort of remains an unsung hero. And I guess, what do your peers, the winemakers who you work around, what do they think of the fact that you're making a wine which has become a huge success at Naked Wines in the UK? What do they think about, did they think you were crazy at first and now they still think you're crazy, or they want some of your craziness because they see the success?
Yeah, it's like actually people really didn't believe was going to be like a successful variety, because they didn't know it and they thought it was not good to have it like wine. But then when you start trying it and find all the character it has, floral and light and really gentle wine, easy drinking, they say, oh yeah, it's nice. And especially people that don't like too much Sauvignon Blanc, they get really engaged with Pedro Ximénez.
Perfect. And on that note, I know many of the people attending will be quite keen to hear your view, my view of what it tastes like. So you have a bottle there, I believe, in Chile. Yeah, cool. And
this is old one, is 2019, but in my glass I have the 2023.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're all over the place. You've got a vertical of Pedro Ximénez. Well, I've got the 22 straight out of the packet, so I can at least directly relate with everyone who's viewing. So I'm going to smell it, and maybe you can share with me the kind of general impressions you have as well. But I think, this white wine, you summed it up by saying, well, first of all, it's not Sauvignon Blanc. By the way, the second wine that we're going to taste is Sauvignon Blanc, so we like Sauvignon Blanc. But what it does is it gives an option to step away from something that, like, it's not too intense. The Sauvignon Blanc is positively, we love it, the intensity. Here, it's that fruit salad mix where you have everything chopped up, kiwi, lime, mango, everything's chopped up together, and it has a nice salivating freshness to it. And it also, to compare it to another grape variety of what it does taste like rather than what it does not taste like, I think it tastes like actually different grape varieties together. So it doesn't taste like another grape variety. It has a little bit of Albarino, a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc, and a little bit of, even Pinot Grigio in that simple, easy, fresh. And that's why I think it's been such a success. It's really facile à boire, easy to drink. And and also, we would initially think that's the kind of wine that you might drink on a nice summer's day, and you wouldn't be wrong. But I think it's more like a party wine. It's not so much about the setting and the temperature of the food. It's more about the mood rather than the food. It's like sometimes wines are okay where you don't need to think about them too much. It's about chatting with your friends and everyone's in good spirits, and you want a nice, happy wine to just sort of carry the chat. And I think that's important. Like I love wine, and I spend my entire life in deep in wine, but sometimes it's important just to come out, chill out, and just,
something not to think too much, just enjoy it. It's an easy wine. And it's nice with food also, like Chinese food or like Thai. It also goes very well.
Yeah, that zip of, like I mentioned, lime, mango, kiwi, they sort of, when you do get that zestiness in some of those Asian dishes, it lifts it up. It's vibrant. Well, that is delicious, Connie. Thank you very much. We're grateful. And, I want to sit and chat with you all evening, and by all means stick around. And but we will move on to the next wine, because there's people knocking on the door. But please say hi to Max and the girls and the dogs and Mariana and the hot dog. Can I tell everyone, please, because this is great. It's great value. But Max, your partner, built a hot tub in your garden. So first of all, you got a swimming pool, which is pretty cool, but a hot tub made from the reception bin. So when the grapes come in, they get sort of like, get big containers of grapes, and they all get tipped into these big reception bins at the winery, and then they get put through a machine, and then they get crushed, and then the wine comes out. Okay, but these big bins, and then they didn't need it anymore, and Max goes, I'll have that. And he built a hot tub out of it, a wood-fired hot tub. So he starts the fire at, what was that, like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and we all went off and had to do our work, tasting and blending, and then get back and have a lovely dinner. And then it's like, okay, it's 11 p.m. and this hot tub, it's absolutely fantastic. I just, what I love when I visit and travel is the innovation. And you get it a lot in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, where people just make things themselves, and it's a lifestyle. It's basically just lifestyle. And anyway, I'd never forgot.
Absolutely, we use everything that it's like to get to the garbage in the winery, like the pallets and the staves. If you have staves that are used, you made nice furniture with staves. So it's good.
Very good. Connie, before I let you go, I've got some questions, and I'm now at the point of wearing glasses. So let me just quickly ask, can I ask you a couple of questions from those that have contributed? So there's lots of recommendations to have with a fish finger sandwich. Do you know what a fish finger sandwich is, Connie? Yeah, deep fried fish, and then
yes, nice
idea. What do you recommend to have with it, just quickly? Would you recommend something?
Me?
Yeah, I think
I said before Thai, also sushi, with sushi and those, like sometimes they put some sauces that are sweet and sour. They also goes well.
Perfect.
Any kind of seafood.
Yeah, I agree. Karen asks, she says, I know Pedro Ximénez as a figgy and very sweet wine. Is that the same grape? Good question. You say it's not the same grape?
No, it's not. It had. There are studies that studied the genes of the two varieties, and they're different. It's just a coincidence of name.
Very good. I'm glad you're here, Connie, because I would have given a different answer.
Yeah, I think even in Argentina, it's already different. Maybe at the first they were the same, but then they cross it with different plants, or maybe they change because of the environment.
Yeah,
They go changing. And if you compare leaves from the Chilean and Argentina, there's like different.
very simple. Good. Well,
Yeah.
there we go. Amplography. Another question from Mike and Maddie. What's the story behind the paw on the bottle? And then there's a question from Quinton who says, where does the name Kimbao come from, or what does it mean?
Ah, nice. Good question. So long time ago, like 15 years ago, when I started working with Naked Wines, we talked with Rowan and Naked Wines team, and they said me, we need something that you can see it on the screen, that it's easy to see because people would look at there. And what name can we use for the wine? And we say, okay, I really didn't knew, I was not clear, but I say, I love dogs. I have 3 dogs. So why don't we choose the name of one of the dogs and we use the paw print? So I said, yeah, perfect. So then I said, I think I have 2 dogs that could work. I have Simbao and Kila. And Rowan answered back and say, okay, let's name it Kimbao. I said, okay, maybe it sounds better, it's harder, but really it was a confusion. And then started Kimbao, but was because of my dogs.
Lovely. That's great. And actually, Carmen Stevens Katoria is a blend of both of her daughters' names as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it catches on. It does. All right, great. Connie, thank you very much for your time, and see you soon somewhere. But I appreciate you joining us. All the very best.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Connie. And we are going to move to wine number 2, which is Mike Patterson's Lay of the Land Sauvignon Blanc. What an absolute crackerjack. Now, Mike is with us since about 2010, 2011, I think. And this is a really zesty, vibrant Sauvignon Blanc. Now, the reason this falls into the Smart Money tasting pack is, as you will know, many of you, we benchmark, we taste our wines blind, meaning we can't see the bottles, versus other wines in the market. And what we do is, when I taste the wine originally, I know we use your money, angel money, to fund the winemakers, and by doing so, we get a much better economics overall for the winemaker, and then for Naked, which we pass on to the angels. So you get that angel price. But the wine tastes a good bit greater than that angel price. It tastes, far more impressive than that angel price. And what we do is we sort of assume a price. From my experience and my colleague Toby and Matt, we assume its relative price in the market, but then we test that assumption and we buy in wines. We spend a lot of money buying in wines from Berry Burrs and Road, Majestic, Laithways, Virgin, Wine Society, great retailers. We bring them in and we taste them blind. Everything is in bags, we can't taste it. And we put our wines in the middle, mixed up with theirs, and we taste each of them without knowing which one is which. And what we're trying to just establish, we don't actually have to beat the others, but what we're trying to establish is that ours, let's say Mike's, tastes on par with the others, but the others cost, I think this is $19.99, $20.99, but Mike's, this elevation is $13.99. So the Smart Money comes down to the funding model where you put in your £20, we take it, we invest it, give it upfront cash to Mike, who buys the grapes, brings it in. So that's the whole concept. Well, that's the whole model of Naked, but also that's the idea around the Smart Money. So this wine, I think, we tasted it blind against, on each wine, you go to the website, you hover over the market price, there's a question mark there, you just hover over it and it'll pop up which wines we tasted it against, and you can see each of those wines. This was St. Clair Pioneer Block, which is an excellent wine. Yeah, you have to see the others there. So tasting it now. Sauvignon Blanc, for those who haven't joined before, just to give a sort of a heads up and how to taste, it's probably one of the most aromatic or exuberant grape varieties, and especially the grape let's say it originates from the Loire Valley. It probably sort of has different parentage around France, but let's say it's best known in the Loire Valley in France, Sancerre, Pouilly-Fumé, Touraine, like this. And then it's traveled around the world. And where it lands in New Zealand, the way it sort of responds to nature in New Zealand is you have these really very bright light, pure light in New Zealand, non-intrusive, nothing that gets in the way of the intensity of the light there. So you have fantastic photosynthesis, basically, where the grape or the leaf absorbs the sunlight, turns it into carbohydrates, and then runs and turns it to sugar and then feeds the grape. And here, what it brings is really exuberant aromas, pineapple, the passion fruit mostly on this wine. And I mentioned lime juice earlier, but you get it again here. So it's passion fruit and lime. So really exotic. And then to taste. So this is the top of Mike's tree, Mike Patterson, the winemaker. It's the top of his tree. And he has 3 wines. As an Irishman, I'm working very hard to differentiate between tree and 3. But so that's why on this one, you get a lot more power, minerality, you might say, like you're licking a wet stone. You get this sort of vibrancy on your palate, like it zings, it buzzes, and it remains on your palate. You get a sort of real sort of sensation. Whereas the wines below this, Destination, and the other entry level, we call it Lay of the Land, they're sort of like more drinking easy, just sort of fresh. This wine has a lot more concentration, a lot more going on with it. And therefore, actually this one does suit food pairing quite a bit. This evening, coincidentally, I had fattoush. If you know what that dish is, like chopped up coriander, parsley, radish and cauliflower, whatever, but it's the dressing that you put over it, where there's just garlic, za'atar, and what's the other one, sumac. What I mean is a vinaigrette, something that sort of brings a bit of power into the dish, can stand up to a really crisp and light, fresh wine like this. So that's the thing. Try not to eat this light but real vibrant wine with something too heavy, rather something with a sort of an equal zip to it, like smoked salmon or gravlax as a starter, or something with a really generous vinaigrette that's going to sort of like kick the wine off. So it's drinking well now. Sauvignon Blanc, especially from New Zealand, you don't need to age it. You buy it, you drink it, and it's to be enjoyed now. Of course, drink it straight over Christmas. This is 95% rated. Buy it again, so you all love it, clearly. And so the smart money is like $13.99 versus what you would pay in the market. I think it's a real winner. Tasting it again now, there's quite a lot of intensity. So you're all chatting in the chat room. There's no questions in the Q&A. Therefore, I'm going to move on to our third wine. And this will be from Benjamin Mai, from the south of France. And it'll be great. Benjamin, can you join us on screen to tell us about your Rosé from Luberon? And in the meantime, I'll get cracking on opening the third wine. So this is, you might have it open already. So I'll give it a little clip. And again, fill the glass here. And so here we have Benjamin. Bonsoir,
Hey.
Benjamin. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, Benjamin, I only saw you last week, I think, but I can't remember the days of the week. But we were there, we were visiting you. Il y a 7 jours, 10 jours, 7 or 10.
Yes, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks, was
Yeah.
it? Okay. Very, very recently. And you even gave us a taste of the 2023 vintage, and fantastic, from Tank. But it was such a wonderful experience to visit. And I think, Benjamin, you can tell all the guests who are attending this evening, but are people welcome to visit you where you are? You've got a new winery built, and are you ready to receive people to say hello, or how are you set up?
we always with good hospitality. Of course, it's a project of winemaking, a new winemaking from a very complete project. You understand that you're visiting a project, global concept about sustain this winery that we spent 3 years to making the winery, but now we have a real sustainable and authentic winery of winemaking. But now, of course, the next stop of the vineyard estate is to have the possibility to receive the public with a wine shop. Maybe we want to have a wedding place to events and to have some rooms to receive the people. That is a global tourism, wine vineyard tourism in that we developing since 3 years. Well, of course, we're hoping and exciting to the next years we have the capacity to receive the people.
Very good. So we'll hold off another year or two while you pull it together. I think maybe, Benjamin, if I may, I'm just going to share on my screen so everyone can see your location, where you are in France, and it's Luberon, the region, just à côté, just next door to Provence, and that will sort of help to set the scene so everyone can taste along and have an idea where you are. Okay. So let us have a go and see if I can
just to replace a little bit the location. Luberon is part of Provence. It's very important to mention you. Yeah. Luberon is maybe the heart of the Provence. We of course don't have the AOP Luberon. We're not AOP Provence. And that's part of the regulation, and that's we understanding. But Provence in France, there are two signification. You have the signification of wine from appellation, but of quality of life, lifestyle. And lifestyle in Luberon is really the lifestyle in Provence, because we have maybe one of the best regions from the most beautiful small town and typical Provençal style. And this region is really famous for all the village, and the countryside is amazing. When you see something very small, but is huge. And I think it's the second or third most important region of tourism, because remember, we have the lavender field, it's part of the Luberon in Valençol. And this is part of the charm of this region. You have very different countryside, different, you have mountain, you have lake, you have so many things that complete the Luberon region. But the most important thing is the geologic region with the Luberon mountain, the small Luberon, the big Luberon, that a lot of mountain with close the Alpes mountain. We have a very microclimate, very interesting, and we inside the national park. And that's give a lot of interesting from biodiversity projects, as you know, we are working on that way.
So your new winery is completely sustainable. It has solar panels all over it, as I saw just last week or week before, and everything you're doing in the vineyard, converting to organics. And so it's a really considered sustainable approach to winemaking. But I guess what we're saying is, with regards to Provence, is within the context of this tasting, which is a smart money tasting, we're tasting an absolutely outstanding Rosé here. I think the previous vintage did it win a Great Value Award at Decanter or International Wine Challenge, I think? Yeah.
Great Value International Challenge. and he was the best rosé in Decanter Wine Award from Rhone Valley.
Yeah, amazing. So
Yes.
it's already been regarded and appreciated outside of Naked, but also all the angels, they love this wine. So perhaps you could just quickly tell us how, let's just do a sort of rosé class 101. Can you tell us the grapes that you use to make this wine? And very simply, how come it's pink and it's not white and it's not red? Can you just explain that very simply?
Yeah, well, this rosé is the characteristic of this rosé is co-fermenting with different grape variety as white grape and red grape. And the particularity of the blending, when I explain co-fermenting, I hope I explain well, or the angel understanding. We not mix the white with red, you know. It's just we crushing the grape on the vineyard with white grape and red grape with different grape variety. We have actually a blend of four or five different grapes in this blend. The Shiraz, Grenache, black Grenache. You have a white Grenache, Uni Blanc, a little bit Vermentino. Why we trying to blending different grape variety? Because the blending grape keeping more complexity, and usually when you blending at the moment the harvest, if the grape have a right maturation, the complexity aromatic is very, very special. That's the reason of this rosé has been overstanding when we thinking about it's my third vintage, that's all. And imagine now with vinificating and in our own winery, you tasting the prototype of 2023 vintage, and we thinking it's much better.
I think so. Well, you've put a lot of focus into it, a lot of attention. Yeah. There are some questions, Benjamin, which I will share from the question section. So the first one is from Claire. Does the Naked Wines model benefit from higher interest rates? I think this one might be for me, or actually it might not even be for me. I think it's for our finance director, I beg your pardon. And this one, well, basically, if we were sitting on cash and investing it and holding it in a high interest rate account, potentially, but the money is out there. It comes in from you guys and it goes out to the winemakers. And so to my knowledge, but I'm just a simple wine buff, I'm not sure we're exactly gaining from the current high interest rates. We're probably the opposite. A question from Sophie. I'm going to use the glasses here. Fascinated by how the profile of rosé wines has changed so much in a few years. Was once regarded as naff, sweet, not a wine choice that was taken seriously. That's true. Great that there are now so many great pinks available. What changed? So in general, Benjamin, before rosé wine, let's think of one of the best brands in the world, Mateus Rosé, or if we thought about another fantastic, well, I mean, when I say fantastic, I mean successful, Blossom Hill, White Zinfandel. The rosé was not regarded on the same level before as it is today. So in your opinion, what do you think has changed in the past, let's call it 10 years, more like 5 years, that rosé has seen such a rise in popularity? What do you think?
Well, I think that, of course, the customer has been more exigent too, because blush wine and small quality wine now is done difficult to find in the market. But rosé, the culture of rosé born in Provence, because we're developing the rosé gastronomic style, about the big brand that has been coming and increasing to improving with Mediterranean grape, making higher quality of rosé. That's the reason why in south of France we have a center of rosé. from looking for how the best grape of the changing of weather, climate, and how the blending to making rosé more and more sophisticated. I think this kind of culture of sophisticate and life of way of life, because Provence, of course, we have a weather that is weather that invites people to drinking rosé, you understand? And I think all the winery has been very, very thinking about how to complex, how to making rosé like a real category of wine, not the rosé from Zinfandel rosé, sweet rosé, like the people say that, okay, but it's not wine. Now we have a real category of wine and rosé, and some small appellation like Luberon is like more value in this involving Provence, involving the neighboring appellation, like that appellation mine is very close. We have the neighbor of the Provence, we have the same grape, same weather, but we have looking for to be more and more performing to making rosé with long guard. I explain you when you came in how to increasing the life in the rosé in the bottle, because we're using white grape variety, because they're keeping more time, more complex inside the wine. And I think this is very a huge adventure of rosé for to begin a real wine. And the last mention was now they speak about some appellation in Provence to be cru. They are looking for a cru from some part of Provence appellation, like Saint Victoire. Saint Victoire mentioned they want to be a cru of rosé.
And just to explain, a cru is basically a specific identified region that is standalone and stand above. So in Burgundy, in France, you have some famous, so you've got Macon, and you have, basically it's wines that stand out as exceptional against the others. So I guess what you're saying is with this attention to detail, focus on quality and research, now you're able to almost isolate which areas produce not just good, not just great rosé, but actually specifically exceptional rosés.
Exactly.
So this is a whole new page for rosé, which basically sends it up to a new gravitas. Thank you. That's great, Benjamin. And there's quite a few questions. And can I ask, so I'm going to share this one from Quinton, and you can just tell us briefly, I wonder how difficult it was to set up a new wine company in France, which we assume is a very mature market. So Benjamin, just very briefly, you know, did you have many challenges to create a new wine business in France, in your region?
Yes, of course. It's very difficult.
Is that property? Is that legislation, or what are the?
No, it's a consumer. The consumer in France is less 20% of wine each year. We have a real problem because the younger people now, they're not really attractive with the wine. Many people drinking more beer, more spirits. And we have regulation in France, La Loi Vert, that each maybe limited the people drinking because they have a lot of control. And it's been very disaster for the wine producer in France. Yes.
So the Loi de Vin means you're not allowed to advertise alcohol in France. So you won't see a Heineken billboard, or you won't see your wine in a magazine. Like basically in public, you're not allowed to promote alcohol publicly, which is a pretty strict law. And the similar laws are found in, let's say, non-alcohol consuming countries in the Middle East and so on. So for a wine consuming, for a country that's founded on culture, it's a pretty strict law, it has to be said. But you do all right, I think, anyhow. I'm going to take one more question here, Jeff. Is climate change a factor? How is it affecting your region and, let's say, the production of rosé?
Well, the changing climate is obviously affecting all the vineyard for all over the world. I think we have all question about that winemaker to improving the method of working. Well, I show you a lot of plan we organizing in our vineyard estate with specialists to be very sustainable and to be very attentive about the soil, about the consume of water, about the consume of energy. And of course, we're looking for planting maybe new grape variety that more adapted for the weather. But yes, of course, today is very, very complicated, more and more dry. And the vine can support the dryness, but not every time. And we have dryness every time. The spring is dry, the summer is dry. This autumn has been very dry. That's amazing. And I think this is a real very important question in the future about the weather.
Yeah. There are two questions on here which I think are really, and there's many questions. I'm sorry that I'm not getting to them, but if you're blending, if you're co-fermenting, putting white grapes in the tank, putting red grapes in the tank, and the volume and the number of them differs, it changes from year to year. Does it affect the blend, the final blend each year? Does it become difficult to control or direct the blend? Because you will not always put in the same amount of Syrah as you will put in the same amount of Cunoise or Vermentino.
Yeah, of course. Well, the wine is a product, is not like a soft, is a wine.
It's not a soft, it's not a Coca-Cola.
We can't control. I think the nature that the vintage may be different. The winemaker has been another inspiration. I have this year's, I use a little bit more Syrah because it was best for me to use Syrah. It was better. I think it's great for the customer that we not have a constance about a style is still the same because we have some our recette de cuisine, but we still very important to be very sensitive about the weather. For example, depend the years, the advantage blending. If I have a bad production in Syrah, I use another grape that it will be much more interesting to introduce in my blend. And at final, it was the result that will be great for the customer.
Perfecto. Great. Thank you very much. And Benjamin, we would thank you greatly for joining us this evening. And actually, your wine is very, very consistent. I found since we started working with you, it's reliable. It has great longevity. So Rosé, this is 2022 or in October 23, and the wine is still standing up, still with great intensity. And it can't be said for all wines or all rosés. So we're incredibly grateful to be working with you, and thank you also for joining us tonight. It's great to see you, and it was great to see you 1 or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I can't remember. So yeah, we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining, Benjamin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. Au revoir.
À bientôt. Au revoir.
À bientôt.
So we will move to the fourth wine from Hermano Veloso from Portugal. The region is Lisboa, which is the region of Lisbon. Let me see, I'm going to upgrade glasses here. Push onto the reds. And so I have to say, and it might even come across as almost somewhat sensationalist, but I believe that Portugal and South Africa, but most likely Portugal, are the greatest value wines in the world, and value for money. They have a whole plethora of grape varieties, many of which I can't pronounce or remember, but each wine typically has a blend of, each red wine typically has a blend of no less than 3 grapes, up to 6 or 7, and then there are hundreds more. Beautiful sunshine, real bright skies, long ripening period, and then it is when you have lots of grapes, so we were just talking about blending, but when you have lots of grapes to work from, you can just make the whole mouthfeel, the whole fruit profile, the whole offering far, far greater than if you were just on a single grape variety. You also minimize your risk in case there was, you know, bad weather for one grape variety or the other. But I believe that Portugal produces knockout, outstanding value. And so do you, as it happens, because you Angels have rated this wine, the Reserva, it's 97% rated, and has always been around 95% and plus. Also, it was one of the first wines we put in boxed wine, where we started bag in box. And it's possible that this wine rates higher in box wine than it does even in bottle. And that is testament to the wine, to the winemaker, to the packaging, and to the sustainability of the whole piece. So basically, whatever you throw at it, this wine, Gallador Reserva, whatever you throw at Hermano Veloso, it just laps it up and knocks it back out again at 97%, 95, 98% rating. So it's a wonderful wine. And I love the smell. It is, I was out walking dog today and with my son, and now we're starting to get that wood smoke smell in the air, or people are burning down the sort of, you know, the cuttings, and that it's sort of an intriguing and beguiling aroma that fills the air in this autumnal sky that we have. And just picking it up here, you get forest floor, you know, basically if you're walking through a forest, kicking leaves, a little bit of wood smoke. It's such a yummy, comforting smell. And then, smooth, really smooth, but also crisp. Like I get nice acidity. So acidity is, it's not, okay, it is acid, but you don't think of it as an acidic way. Think of it as acidity as just sort of like the lifeline, the pulse that goes into a wine that helps it sort of vibrate in the background. So you can enjoy all the black and red fruits, but you get this crispness that comes through just to lift it up. And that crispness is really good with your options of food. You know, if you didn't have the crispness, everything would just feel a bit heavy, dense. So this gives it a nice freshness. I'm thinking this wine, I can't recall what it says in the book, but I'm going to throw out lamb, if I may, cheese and charcuterie. Charcuterie is good. Charcuterie is really good, so that spicy character. Also, I'm going to go back to the beautiful meal I had earlier, fattoush, which basically that vinaigrette lemon juice that goes through it, because I think it has a nice zestiness to it. But overall, you can go to sort of grilled food, grilled meats as well. Beautiful. So basically, Lisbon is, well, let me use my hand as a map. No, that's not really going to work. You know where Lisbon is? It's just to the north of Lisbon, about 45 minutes north. That region is Lisboa. This is from Hermano Veloso, and we might, I can't promise, but we might have an incredible surprise coming in the Christmas case, but I can say no more. So I'll leave it at that, and I will take a question here. So from, and right, Ray, what's your favorite red you've had? Oh, that's a left hook and a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. What's the favorite grape, or what's the favorite wine or favorite red I've ever had? Do you know, here I am talking about the wines we've selected for this case, and I love them all. I love them all equally. But you know, I'm smitten by the wines of Beaujolais, which in the past, talking about the rosés of the past, Beaujolais had a bad rep in the past for being, you know, Beaujolais Nouveau, light, easy drinking. But the crus, as I was mentioning earlier, or Benjamin was mentioning earlier, when you go into the small specific areas, like you've heard of Fleury, Fleury is a cru, and there's 9 crus, I believe, and they all taste quite different, and I just love those wines. But I love all the wines we have here. Difficult to answer that one. And Mike and Maddie, question number 2, thank you from you guys. Is there any way we can do the tastings but buy the bottles as a tasting pack? Yes, we used to do that. So I might ask, obviously understand it would be more expensive. My dear colleagues in the background, Lorita and Simon, might be able to jump in and answer that. It might end up answering in the chat. So you might just keep an eye out for that. But I think we used to do it in the past. And if we don't have the answer right now, we will get back to you, Mike and Maddie, and yes is the answer. We'll do that. James, do you find reds to be more consistent than whites? I hadn't thought about it that way. What I find is whites, there's often at a certain price point and quality and style, there's a window, a time window of appreciation around whites, where reds, because of its structure, it's fermented with its skins, it has tannins and body, and it tends to sort of like, you know, you widen the risk, or while you're talking about the consistency, you have a greater breadth of consistency. But no, whites, if you're going for good quality whites from a region you like, it's on form. It all comes down to the blend in the end, how they do it from year to year, and I find it pretty consistent. And Tracy, any plans to have an orange wine? Well, we do have an orange wine in assuming it's still available on the site, in David from Georgia. We might have Simon in the background. You might be able to share that grape or that wine on there. And we also have from Greece, from Yanis Troupis, his Mosh Filero. It's a white, well, it's a pink grape, but he's made it in an orange wine style. It almost comes across like peach color, but it's made in an orange wine style. And the last question I'll take here is, how about current price for the wine tasting and the first pack, and then a reduced price for additional packs? I feel like I'm in a souk or in Tunisia negotiating and back and forth. And if you buy this, I'll give you that. But you've caught me off guard, and I'm not in a position of negotiation right now. So we'll take that up, and we might be able to. You'll see that addressed or otherwise going forward. Last one for Peter. We have a US Naked account as well. Are these wines available in the US? Let me try and have a go and tell you which wines are available in the US. I think Mike Patterson is in the US. I know that Adam Barton for the Rabbit and Spaghetti is in the US, and my next guest, Dom Hentel, will be able to confirm there. But so I think so far those two wines are in the US. Bon, we will move on from this fantastic wine from Portugal, and with Dom Hentel, my good friend for a long time. If you're there, can you join us? Can you tune in? And we're going to start to taste your wine, your Primitivo. There you are, my good man. Your hair looks lovely. I wonder, do we have sound from you, Dom? Can we just do a quick sound check just to make sure? Just a aye, yay. Not hearing you yet. So you're going to get me throwing my voice and doing an impersonation of your voice, which could get awkward. But I'll keep everyone, whenever you like, just throw in a hello and a yes. But in the meantime, I'm going to drink your wine. Thanks very much, Dom. Okay, so while Dom's sorting that out in the background, this is, which he will tell us all about it, so I won't steal the show from Dom, but it's a red wine from the south of Italy. Puglia is the region, which Dom will tell us a bit more about, and the grape is Primitivo. I'll high level touch on the fact that it is or has been related, considered a relation of Zinfandel. But here in the south of Italy, it takes on its own identity. And wow, that wine is looking fantastic. It's also really good for long, well, Dom's a big foodie as well, but the stews and the sort of like long cooked meats or long cooked veggie broths, that's what you get from the base of this wine. And we're going to get Dom, I think, potentially on your phone, I think, Dom. So that's on. Let's see. Okay. It says you're connecting to audio. You never know. We might just get a burst of Dom Hentel. Yeah, gotcha.
You got me?
I do, but we have a repeat, so you'll have to turn off if you're on a laptop, can you just shut that one down?
I'll do that right now. Is that better? Can you hear me now?
I can only hear you once, which is enough for me. Thank you very much.
That's enough for most people, eh?
Yeah, very
I
good.
don't know why it was working fine. I had it on the big TV. Anyway, we're here.
No,
We're working now. So
you're good, and we have a great view up your nostrils, which is a privilege. This is money.
let's change that straight away. How's that? Is that better?
No, that's beautiful. You're looking great. Good stuff. Dom, thanks for joining us. And you are a true naked veteran. Maybe just introduce yourself. Like, how long have you been making wine for Naked?
Well, I started back in the old days. I joined exactly the same day as as Wade, as Eamon did, 2000 and whatever it was, 2011, wasn't it? Yes, May 2011. That's when I started making my first wines. When I joined, anyway. Then I think my first vintages from Burgundy and Italy were 2011, 2012 onwards. So yes, I think my first Italian wines, my first Primitivo, or my first Tail Cowder, which is what we're trying tonight, was the 2015 vintage. So yes.
Yeah. Because we upped it. We sort of doubled down on it. You had the Primitivo, and then we went Terra Caldas when we threw the kitchen sink at it, wasn't it? Just
yes,
sort of...
that's right. Because I had the black label Primitivo, which is still one of my biggest sellers, and that was the kind of the soft and fruity, softer style. And then there was these really old vines that I wanted to do something special with, and that goes from another story. That used to go into a big, what I call soup blend, in the early days, when I was doing wines from Marks and Spencers and the rest of them. And I wanted to one day go back and make something special that would really, really show the quality of these lovely old vines. These vines are hand-picked, dry-grown bush vines, aged between 60 and over 100 years old, some of them. So they're amazing old vines, and they make tiny production. So the Tail Cowder was the kind of epitome of what these vineyards can really do, and something I wanted to show that I'm proud to do it. So yeah.
And I guess coming back to again the concept of this evening around smart money, it's where you've sort of only someone who absolutely knows the region, the area, and the vines and the potential of the vines, and rather than and back then, and probably still today, but certainly back then, older vines, they just got sort of picked up and thrown in with all the rest without realizing their full potential, which is basically they can generally produce wines of greater intensity, length, complexity, power, but they're kind of hard work to manage and to pick. But you've sort of isolated it, and that's that's what I think is fascinating about the partnership that you have with Naked, that you can say, hold up, if you give me the liberty to pursue this, then I can give Angel something that really bangs, bang for buck above everything else. Is that how you see it?
Yes, that's pretty much summed it up perfectly. It goes back to this old, particularly there were 3 vineyards, but one particularly that the old boy used to. This is back when I was making wines for supermarkets, and we had average grapes, and then there was these particular 2 vineyards that came in, and they were the ones that we used to up the quality of the oval, what I call soup blend in those days, but the big blend to really make it work so that the quality was good enough. But he was being paid the same price for his grapes as everyone else was for their grapes, and it broke my heart because it was just pride and joy. His grandfather planted the vineyard. His son, his father, nurtured them, and he was delivering these vines on the back of this tiny. Well, it wasn't a truck; it was a tractor and trailer. And this guy was already in his 80s, so and his son was there. So it was his 4th generation. He was the 3rd generation, and his son was taking over. And it broke my heart to think that he was so proud of these hand-nurtured grapes that they hand-picked in these tiny little trailers, and compared to the big trailers that turned up with the bulk wines, as it were. And he wasn't getting paid any more than anyone else. And they were used to improve the quality. So I always vowed that one day I would go back and do them justice. And thanks to Naked, that's kind of what we do. So, yeah.
That's an incredible story, Dom. And also, it's also a reminder of what you and I and Connie and Benjamin and many people around, we're here for. We're here for the wine and it's farming, isn't it? At the end of the day, we ponce it up by calling it wine and so on, but it's harvest, and you have the challenges of each vintage harvest, you know, rain, heat, and so on. But and what we get out of it just so happens to be an alcoholic beverage that is no bad thing either. But yeah, the people behind it, the hardships, the graft, and but what you've done is sort of, I don't know, identified the people behind it. And that's what this ecosystem of wine is. It's land and people and product, and it's and hopefully money at the end of it, you know, if people can get paid. So, but it's amazing wine. And it's been, we've put this wine in Magnum, I think, in the past.
So. We did it for 2019, 2020 for Christmas. But I think there's still a few of the 2020 Magnums on the site, because you're only allowed to order one per order. So, which is, I really found that really cool, because the casing or whatever it is. So there actually still a few on there, and they're still at the old price. And they're now it's had 1 or 2 years in bottle now. The 2020 Magnums are just amazing. I think it's one of the higher. I think it's like one of the highest rated Magnums. I think it's 96 or 97%. Anyway, and it's fantastic. And what I find frustrating is most wines are released a little bit too young because of the way the market is, and they really do benefit from. I will say with all my wines, give them plenty of time to breathe. If you drink it now, that's fine. 2 or 3 hours decanted. But if you can lay them down and give them a year or two, and the Magnum's a good example, then now that Magnum, which was made for Christmas or last, so 2020, 21, Christmas, is now showing amazing well. And there's still a few left on the site, which I think is fantastic. So people can still pick up a few bottles. So it's good. But the best story of that Terra Cauda really was that the 2015 vintage, the first release I did of that. I'll never forget this. I was so proud of the wine when we released it on Naked Wines. It did so well, and I went back that following year and took a bottle of the bottled, Naked Wines Terra Cauda to the vineyard, to the owner, to the proprietor Giovanni, and he was 82, 83, I think, at the time. And I said, look, in my worst Italian, because I do speak Italian, but not that well. And
his mother.
And probably, I know. And I said, look, this is your vineyard. This is your wine. Thank you. This is what we have created thanks to you. And he opened it there and then. He's a local chap. And he poured it into some cup, tried it. And it was emotional. He broke down. He couldn't believe, he was so happy. And that's what makes it work for me. And I vowed I would make something decent, show what his vineyard can really do, which is grandfather planted in 1902 or whatever it was. And that's what it's all about. And ever since then, that's been my mission with Naked Wine. So
that's fantastic. Good on you, Dom. From start to finish, and you saw the whole picture and closed it out. And now here you are sharing it with us. And we talk about it in the realm of smart money and great value, but it's more than that, isn't it? And it goes deeper.
But it is great value. I mean, you think what you get there, it's incredible. These are aged in old French oak barrels, and I think it's a love. Obviously I'm a bit biased, but I think it's a good wine.
No, understandably, absolutely. I'm going to take some questions, Dom, and throw them up. First one from Debbie is, I think it's possibly directed at me, so I'll take it quickly. Do you have many English wines? What do you think of them? Rubbish, all of them, all rubbish.
No, that's not true.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yes, we do, Debbie. We have The Simpsons, which we've been working with for a good long time, 2016. And I think we were one of the first to fund their sparkling wine. And so they have sparkling wine and still wine. And then we have the great Kieran Atkinson, who's based up in Derbyshire, but he sources wine from the south, from Essex and Hampshire. But he makes it. His winery is up north. And they're fantastic. And of course, it just takes, you're watching a live documentary development of the ascent of English wine today. I mentioned 2016 from The Simpsons, but year after year, everything is getting better and better in terms of quality and style. The vintages will vary. This year, 2023, just so happened to be an outstanding high volume and great quality vintage, but you'll get another one that, just fluctuates. So the wines are great in England. Lots of chat was around sparkling wine, but the still wines, meaning, just a regular white wine, a regular red wine, that's still wine, they have come on leaps and bounds through techniques and so on. So really great. I'm a big proponent, big advocate. A question from Zoe regarding naked wine reds. Why are the alcohol percentages so high? Do you have a lighter red, i.e. 12% rather than 14 or 15%? The thing is, Zoe, it's a selection. Yes, we do. I believe you might even be able to search by a filter on the website. I can think of one red wine from Greece, Ola Kala, which is 12 or 12.5%. It's a beautiful, light, fresh red wine. Dom was going to give me hell now because you had your, it was the Gamay. That was about 12%. And which we had in the past. But otherwise, otherwise, the 14 or 15%, like we have wines between 12 and 14 or 15. It depends on the intensity of fruit you want, and with the mouthfeel, all of that alcohol sort of gives that support of a mouthfeel. So they're on the website. You will definitely find them. I want to question you here for Dom. Dom mentioned breathing time for his wine. Does that suggested time vary according to grape variety or what? Question from Nick. What do you think there, Dom?
Well, you probably answer it even better than me. But we're talking about this wine tonight, which is Primitivo, the old vine Primitivo. I make them in a style that I don't like to make them too commercial, so they're not sweet and sugary. They're there with all their texture and their tannin structure, but ripe tannins. So they definitely, the Primitivo, the Terra Cauda, for example, definitely an hour or so to breathe makes a massive difference. We're talking about the other wines like the Terra Forte, which is the one which has got the Primitivo, Negromaro, and Nero de Troy in, which has definitely got a bigger tannin structure. That one I would definitely give it a few more hours to breathe. And of course, my Sicilian Terra Nero, which is Nero d'Avola, which is also really old vines, that also has a tannin structure. So I always say that my wines age very well. Hence, I was talking about the Magnum earlier. There's 2 years later, still beautiful and gone a long way. But if you can afford the time, open them. Either decant them or give them an hour, take a bit out of the glass, out of the bottle, and leave it an hour or two to breathe, and you really see a difference. And I get so many posts on my site saying, "Love the wine, but we came back to the next day and it was even more awesome." So it's frustrating, but I mean, I always believe that patience rewards, and Ray, I'm sure you're also an advocate that fine wines need time to open up. They're a living, breathing thing, and when they've been shut up in a bottle for a while, they need to breathe and get their breath back, and that takes some time sometimes.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I find that if you find a wine that you like, let's say Dom's Primitivo, and you buy 3, but no rush to drink them, and it will happen by circumstance. It'll happen by accident. That you drank it, you opened it, and then you went away for the weekend, you came back and you forgot that you opened it, and you just have a glass because you just had a bloody long drive from the Lake District, and you have a glass and you go, wowza. And that is your own discovery. You can read it in a book and you can listen to us wine ponces say it, but so like yes, it differs from grape to grape and it differs from wine to wine, but like just in a sense, stick to what get comfortable, and then see what it does, put it in the fridge or take it out, and life hopefully is long, so don't rush it, and then you work it out, that wine yourself, but let's say, but don't try and learn off the grape variety, and don't try and learn off the exact producer. What I would say is the way to approach it is look at it like milk. Okay, is skimmed milk, semi-skimmed milk, full fat milk. And this wine would be towards the full fat, like it's a full bodied wine, but it's sort of medium. It's what do we call it? Semi-skimmed, but you get another wine, perhaps the next one we're going to go on to from Clare Valley Shiraz, it's going to be more full bodied. So just like what's light, what's medium, what's a full-bodied wine, and they'll all sort of perform differently. So don't try and learn and harbor too much information. That's boring. It takes the fun out of it. Just go light and delicate, medium easy drinking, full-bodied power wine, and you just go, how do they all differ? So that would be my advice. Yeah. I think let's see. Okay, one more question if we can. So I gotta love this question, because actually, Dom, you're a musician. So a question from Jenny, and apologies to those that I've skipped over, but I'm just trying to keep it while we have Dom here, and he's the show. Our son, a percussionist, had a snare drum piece called Hugh's Chilled Red. Do you recommend chilling red? I mean, that's two huge topics at once. Is there a snare drum which is actually called Hugh's Chilled Red, or is your son called Hugh and he named the snare Chilled Red? I don't know. But Dom, do you recommend chilling red? I think I know the answer. Go.
Well, again, we come down to the variety. I mean, traditionally, when I started off in South America, in Chile, years and years ago, go to the local little place, and the reds were chilled, and I wondered why, and then I realized at room temperature they weren't very good. This is really in the early days of some of the really rustic reds. So, and the same in Italy, and same in Spain, with the Riojas and the Jovens particularly. So, but I mean, there are reds I actually do serve from, like I say, cellar temperature. Some, as you know, some of the Gamay, Beaujolais, Beaujolais Nouveau, and wines like that absolutely benefit from being slightly cooler. And Pinot Noir too, more cellar temperature than room temperature. So it's very much what you fancy. But there are times, I think there's always a time for chilling red, but generally, we're talking about this wine, Martella Calda, it's wine to let breathe, open up, and savor. Glass in hand at room temperature. But then again, room temperature is not tropical temperature. We're talking, 15 to 20 degrees, nothing really warm. But there are times for chilled reds, and there are always moments when the chilled red wine goes down very well. So
yeah. Very, very, very diplomatic, Dom. Very well.
But it's true though, isn't it? We all have the times where a slightly chilled Beaujolais or slightly chilled Gamay or something. Not chilled, but just like out of the fridge for half an hour or so, but it's so good though.
It is so good. And I think for all of us, wherever you are in the United Kingdom or wherever you are tuning in from, we do not yet have the temperatures of our southern French neighbors. And where, and if you go on our tasting tour, in fact, we have a tour coming up in a week or so. Dom, you're on the tour.
I will see you there.
See you there. And in the summer tour, when I go around the room in the tasting room, you do it, Dom, actually, but the Kiwis and the Aussies and some of the Safas, South Africans, they put their red wines on ice, and the others don't really, but they are chilling them down. And I'm like, it's not that hot, but you leave them to it. But in hotter climes, of which we are approaching,
yes,
chilling your red makes sense. Here in the UK, this wasn't the greatest of summers, in which case, don't force the chilling red. But when we do have a hot summer, then you chill the red. So basically, read the room is the general answer. I'm just going to take this question from Sarah Ray. As part of a box of wines, I received a gift of the cork where you can remove the oxygen. So that's where you put it on an open bottle and you suck out the oxygen like this. Is it advised not to use on red wines then, or do you still recommend after so many hours? So if you know that you want to leave it, let me start that again. It will preserve it. If you want to keep it as close as possible to the experience that you just had, then you would remove the oxygen so it stays as it is. If you want the wine to go on, remember it's a biological product, it's crushed grapes, it ferments, and then it's bottled, a couple of, sulfur to protect it and so on. But otherwise, it's a living, breathing thing, and it wants to change, and oxygen wants to get involved. And we have vinegar, which we love, but vinegar is vin aigre, bitter wine. And it wants to change. And by using this pump, you're preventing it from changing. So it's up to you. Do you like it as it is, or do you want to see it get funky? In which case you leave it a bit. So that's how I would say. I'm conscious of the time, Dom. It's
Yes.
been fantastic to have you on.
Wonderful.
And those of you who will be joining on tour will see Dom in many a city, 4 or 5 cities we have.
Yes.
And I'll see you in Leeds. But thanks very much. And the wine's looking fantastic. But also thank you for sharing that incredible story, and also truly for remaining, you know, a diehard wine lover, more than a great winemaker. You're a wine lover, where you bring the wine back to the wine, you know, the great grower, and show them what it's all about. So
That's what it's all about to me. So yes.
good man. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Pleasure. Nice to speak to you, Ray. And everyone take care and see you on the tour.
See you,
Bye.
pal. All the best. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to our final wine of the night, which is a fantastic Shiraz from Australia. And it's from South Australia, the state. And it's from Clare Valley. Now, Clare Valley is, well, you're going to see, it makes beautiful wines. It could be said that it is overshadowed by its potentially more famous bigger brother or sister, the Barossa Valley. But really, Clare has it going on in all the climates. Clare Valley manages it in terms of, it gets the ripeness and intensity, but also has areas of freshness. So you get, I think you often get potentially better balance in Clare Valley. So just to give you a picture of where we are, I'm going to share my screen. Again, the roll the dice operation of the will this ever work. That was Benjamin Mai. And here we are in Australia, South Australia. There's Adelaide. There's the Barossa Valley. And then you have to go whoop out of town to Clare. That's about 2-hour drive out there. And yeah, like I said, different areas of elevation. So you've got heat, but where you are in elevation gives you coolness and freshness, and that gives a bit of bite and sort of zip and sort of just lift to the wine. So this is Shiraz grape grown in Clare. Barossa is here, and you will have come across, we had a number of wines, and we have a number of wines coming in. McLaren Vale is down here, what is considered a more Mediterranean climate. Also Shiraz from here. So you've got Shiraz from Australia, but it's important, you dear wine lover, to slow down and appreciate the subtle differences between McLaren, Barossa, and Clare. In a way, you don't have to overthink it, don't worry about it, but all I'm saying is they do have slightly different nuances. The same grape expresses itself slightly differently. So I'll stop that share, and I'm going to go back to appreciate this fantastic wine. This is from Adam Barton, who, by the way, his son, and I don't have his son's name, but he probably will end up swimming for Australia in the Olympics. Because every time I talk to him, he's like, oh, we just got back from the pool. And his son is like #1 in the state, and then breaks the record of the state. And anyway, there you go. That's a bit of a name drop, but Barton is the surname, and I'll have to get back to you on the son's name. But so anyway, fantastic. I love that kind of stuff. Anyway, here we go. Shiraz. So Shiraz, the grape is Syrah in Australia, or outside of France, they call it Shiraz. But what it gives is, versus some of the other wines, it gives sort of like, it's more the comfort blanket. It's sort of got a nice, deep, brooding, ripe, generous blackberry pie character to it. On the nose, yeah, there it is. Really decadent, ripe berry fruit. And to taste, yeah, fantastic. So clearly, like I was saying, this Shiraz is crispier. It has a crispness to the Shiraz of Barossa. Barossa is sort of bolder, heavier, deeper. This Shiraz is perkier, lifted, more vibrant, crisp, and yet it still has the black fruits and the red currant fruits, and so it's a lively wine. This one, gold medal this year at IWC, decanter, I think it was IWC, International Wine Challenge. It won a gold medal, this wine. And the Horrocks and Greenwood, that one, so that's another one at $10.99, $11.99, so it's a level below this. That one, great value red last year, I believe. So anyway, Adam makes fantastic wines, but here you're at, when you taste this wine blind in a lineup against other wines, it's up against some sensation wines. I think this is up against Jim Barry Forager and some other great wines. So you can pay a far greater price for wine of this quality in the market, and here on this wine, you're getting it because basically they're funding the model that has worked. And I personally, I love this wine. So I'm going to take a couple of questions here from Jeff and Jane. Hello there. The 3 reds we have tasted tonight. Yep, already tried number 6. Okay, great. Have integrated tannins. That's a very good word and very good concept. Integrated tannins, meaning it all just sort of marries in with the fruit. A little grippy, but not mouth coating. Oh my God, I think we're talking about, we have wine experts here because this language is beautiful. Is there a reason for choosing these over more tannic reds? Oh, so no, there isn't a reason, to be honest. No, I'll just say that is pure coincidence. Let's say when we talk about people's perception of quality, and we're talking about smart money, but overall the quality. Sometimes you can't please all the people all the time, but when the tannins marry with the fruit and the acidity, and it all comes together, you can actually show off the potential of a grape variety or region or style really well. When you have grippier, as you used, did you use, let's see, more tannic reds? They can sit ajar. The tannins which dry your gums, they can sit ajar from the rest of the wine, and that can sort of detract from the experience. Doesn't mean they're bad. It just means you need to leave them open longer. You need to aerate them, decant them. Possibly you need to eat them with food, like a meat or a strong cheese. And that's sort of not what we're doing this evening. And so that would probably be my best made up answer, if that works. Julie and Rosie, are any of these wines in our Christmas box? I can't remember, to tell you the truth, but pass. What is today? Today's the 24th of October. We might be launching it in about 2 or 3 weeks. So you'll find out then. Potentially something from Portugal, maybe something from Portugal. That's all I have. Vince, a very full session there and very informative. Well, thank you, Vince. I appreciate it very much. Well, I'll take Vince's compliment as a cue to wrap, but I hope you've all enjoyed this evening. Yeah, fantastic wines we have, and a really huge thanks to our guests, because without them, it's just me. And but they've brought it to life, the stories and also the education, the knowledge, which we have from Benjamin, the heart-filling warmth we have from Dom, and then there's just the sort of the history that goes back in terms of finding grapes and what Naked is all about, pushing boundaries and exploring and testing and finding new things which Connie pursued in South America. So thank you very much, guys. It's been fantastic. And well, I've enjoyed it. You decide if it's fantastic. And we'll see you on the next one of these, which is close to Christmas. You'll hear about it soon enough. It'll be a special Christmas, or really a fine wine or a quality wine tasting. My very best. Good evening. Stay warm and safe. Take care. Bye-bye.